The question that came in was, how do the concepts of God's omnipresence and an eternal hell coexist?
Well, God is in hell in terms of his omnipresence. So God is everywhere, including in hell. But you have to draw a distinction between God's being and God's manifest presence. You understand, for example, that in Great Awakenings, there have been times when God manifested his presence in certain places and not other places. And by manifesting his presence, I mean the same thing you can do, namely allow your presence to be detected by others. If you're married, you can hold up your presence from your spouse and go cold, or you can manifest your presence. Let them have a sense of you. Well, God is capable of the same thing. So God's manifest presence is not in hell, but God's being is there because he's everywhere.
Okay, that was I didn't expect that answer, but so let me just jump off that.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't God manifest his presence more often?
A couple of reasons. I think the first one is that it will avoid greater punishment for people in hell. You have to understand that the more revelation a person rejects, the more severe their punishment. People in hell are not any longer in a position where they will change. Because if they just needed a little bit more time to come to faith, God would have moved heaven and earth to make sure they didn't die prematurely. So nobody will be in hell who needed a little bit more time. That means that the people in hell have made a final decision that they don't want to have anything to do with God. For him to manifest his presence to them on a regular basis would cause them to reject him even more, and it would further subject them to a more harsh punishment. I believe in near-death experiences. I think that in America there have been 8 to 12 million of these in the last 25 years, according to a Gallup poll. That's 1 in 20 America. 4% of America and 4% of Germany have died and gone to heaven or hell and come back. 200 to 300 million people around the world have had these experiences. There are too many of them for them not to be real. There are frauds, of course, but there are real accounts. Some of them are hard to harmonize with the Bible. I've got my view on that. But nevertheless, that they're real is beyond, in my opinion, beyond reasonable doubt. Now, suppose that God gives a person an opportunity to experience something in the afterlife, and they come back and they don't turn to Christ. Then that experience will provide a basis of greater condemnation for that person at the final judgment than had they not had that opportunity to have received more of that revelation. So the more revelation a person has, the more they're responsible for, whether that's in creation or in hell and so on. Now, people in hell couldn't stand heaven. I'm not saying it's a good place to be. Hell is not a torture chamber. There are no flames in hell as far as I can see. Most theologians agree that hell is a place of separation from God and of anything of value. The reason there aren't flames in hell is that flames are figures of speech in the scripture for judgment. For example, when Jesus comes back, he says that he will be a consuming fire. Well, I don't think Jesus will be lit, somebody light a match to his robe before he comes back. God says, I am a consuming fire. I don't think God is a huge Bunsen burner in the sky. No, flames are symbols for judgment. Furthermore, if you take the flames literally, you have a contradiction, because hell is a place where flames exist, but it's also a place of outer darkness. Now, how can you have flames and darkness at the same time? So hell is not a place where people are literally burning, but it is a place of great suffering and loss. And the people who go to hell are people who could not stand to be in heaven. And anybody who can stand heaven will be there. Anybody who can stand it will be there. But a lot of people couldn't take it. I mean, have you ever been around somebody, let's be honest about it, that you worked with that was just a lot better looking than you are, a lot smarter, and a lot funnier, so that when, you know, the two of you were around, everybody gave them all the eye contact and huddled around them, and you were standing over there like a bump on a log? You like being around people like that? Well, probably not. Now, blow that up by about 100,000, and that's what God is. How would you like to be around a being like that, who's funny, smart, beautiful, intelligent, knows what you're going to say before you say it? I wouldn't want to be around somebody like that unless I loved him. And if I didn't love him, I sure as heck wouldn't want to be around him, and that's what happens to people who wouldn't want to be around a being like that. And they wouldn't want to be around the people who want to be around them.
So you, this may be an obvious statement, but heaven and hell is an exercise of our free will and a result of our free will.
It is indeed.
Okay.